You are listening to the Dental C-Suite, the strategic alliance for independent dentists, covering the 3 pillars of practice success, people, profit, and patience from the Dental C-Suite. Here are your hosts.
Welcome back, Dental C-Suite listeners. I'm Kyle Hamilton, and as always, I have Jess Beretti and Charlie Beaulieu. And today's episode is a really exciting one. We've got our very first podcast guest, and we're kicking things off with the one and only Bob Piercy. He's a sales leader, a business development guy, and someone who's been all over the dental and healthcare space. From working with companies like Henry Schein and Desktop Health to getting into the startup world, he's seen how this industry works from just about every angle. He's also the host of the Co-Travel podcast, where he chats with professionals across the Canadian dental industry. So he's usually the one asking the questions. We're big fans of the podcast, and since Bob's had all 3 of us on his show, both together as a group and individually, we figured it was time to return the favor and put him in the hot seat. So we'll also, just so everybody knows, we'll drop Bobby's contact info and podcast link into the show notes so you can check out his work and connect with him to learn more. Welcome, Bobby.
Hey, thanks to be here. This is fun, and like I said before we hit record, it's 3-on-1 today, so don't beat up on me too much.
We'll be kind.
I gotta say, Kyle, it's just the radio voice that you have. I don't know. I clearly see why they have you start off every single episode, and you might have missed your calling, pal. I think, I
always grew up being told I have a great face for radio. So,
well, you got the voice for it too. So you're set. You're set.
So, let's. I appreciate the compliments. And
I'm buttering you guys up. I'm trying to make you like this.
Yeah.
So make sure that this goes easy for me.
And for those of you who don't know, and we might dive into this a little bit, Bobby and I actually go way back, like to high school. So we've known each other for a while. We certainly parted ways for a bit, but reconnected recently at PDC, and that's kind of what kicked off this whole fun times.
That's the dental industry for you. Just bringing people back, bringing people together. So
I think it was you who said it's like the Hotel California. You can check out, but you can never leave.
That's an old joke. I heard that early on. I've definitely done my bit to make that to wear that joke out. But no, it's true. Yeah, once you get into this space, it's very, very few people manage to get out of it. So it's a great place to be. So that's why.
Yeah, perfect. So we'll get the interview rolling, and as kind of mentioned in off the top in the intro, you've worked across a lot of industries. And what pulled you into the dental space to begin with?
Well, you know what? Actually, it was a friend of the family. One of family member that we have. My family has a cabin up in northern Saskatchewan at one of those great Saskatchewan lakes. And one of the families up there, the dad worked for Henry Schein for many, many years. And he ended up being the person that made the introduction. I'm not going to say that he got me the job because he didn't, but he made the introduction that led down the path that, ended up getting me in the dental space. And so, like one of so many great things in life, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And that's just kind of what, and the funny thing is, he had made an offer or a suggestion to me at least a year or even 2 prior. And I thought, I don't want to go sell cotton rolls. I don't want to go sell like that doesn't sound like fun stuff. And so I didn't really think anything of it. And then a couple of years later, it came back and I took the opportunity for that meeting, that conversation. And it's been this way ever since. So
awesome. Was there a moment where you realized, this is the industry that I think I can stay in?
Yeah, I think pretty early on. I can't really remember any big aha moment. Things I had done up into the point of getting into dental, like right out of university, I actually was living in Los Angeles. I got a job on the manufacturing side of the scuba industry down in LA. And that was, 2 fun years of just, living off the beach and scuba diving and surfing and just, from being a farm boy in Saskatchewan to going and like living in LA was pretty cool. But scuba is a very, very disposable income based sport. And scuba is also a very, very small industry. And so I forget what the numbers were exactly, but like if you had gone diving once in the past 2 years or something, or maybe even longer, they considered you an active diver, and that's active. And so that's really just your vacation people that do nothing and basically relearn to scuba dive every time they go on vacation every 1 or 2 years. Whereas in LA, we're actively diving off the beaches of Catalina and Redondo Beach and diving off of boats and, every weekend. And I even was teaching scuba lessons down there with the dive shop. So that, if you think about skiers or curlers or any, what is an active participant in your pickleball league? So anyway, so scuba is really small, really disposable income based. When the 2006-07, U.S. housing crisis, economy crash hit, so what made me want to stay in dental? Diving's cool, but it's very, ups and downs with economy. People have disposable income. And then when I came back to Canada, one of the first things I started doing, just, needed to get kind of established, get some income, as I was managing a gym, fitness center. And again, it was cool. I've got a lot of experience in the fitness world, and athletics and university and, sports like you, Kyle. But then when I was managing in those gyms, a lot of people that work for you as you're the leader in that business, it's not their like career job. It could be a career job to be the manager of a gym, but the people you're working with, that's not their career. That's they're in school going off to become nurses or doctors or whatever else. And so I didn't. One thought about that is like I wanted to work in an industry where I was working with professionals, people that were in it for the same level or reason that I was in it for, right? So that was another thing that kind of I didn't know what I was looking for, but I didn't know where to look, but I knew what I was looking for in that regard. And then when you're in dentistry, you're working with highly intelligent people. This is a career. This is very resilient industry in regards to economic turns. There's good times in dentistry. There's things when it retracts a little bit, but really it is quite recession resistant. And then when I got into it as well, like the angle that we were taking with our clients was really trying to help them with their business. And that was another thing that spoke to me too. Like it wasn't just about, goop and glue and gloves and composites and all this. It was like, listen, doctor, like, if we can help you run a better business, make some more money, that's going to, eviscerate any discount that my competition is offering. And that's the messaging that I kind of fell in love with. That's the kind of something I've regardless of what I've done in the dental space since, is just trying to focus on how doctors can run more profitable businesses, improve patient care just based on their standard of care. That's always kind of been an angle I've taken, and it's been. Man, like I came into this back end of 2009, and so I'm not going to do the math on air, but it's been a while, and it's flown by.
Charlie can do that math. That's why we keep him around.
That's right. Yeah. That's why you guys got the 3.
Yeah, we don't do math.
What math? What math do you want? The math that I was doing in 2009, or the years?
Just tell me how old you think I am, Charlie. Tell me how good I look. That's all I care about, buddy. Yeah, I'm at the age where I'll take all the flattery I can get.
I'm curious,
for you, Bobby.
Sorry, Kyle.
Go ahead.
What?
I was just thinking, coming into the dental world, Bobby, was there anything that really surprised you about it? Like, I don't know. It's kind of a broad question, but was there anything that, Sorry,
and
go ahead.
Surprised me about dentistry. Well, I guess a lot of it surprised me because I really, at that point, I knew nothing about dentistry, and I think historically a lot of people that come into this space are people that, were already in it. They have, assistants, hygienists, or different people that kind of, work in clinic and then transition out of clinic into sales roles or into consulting roles and whatnot. So I knew nothing. So I was learning a lot. But it was fun, and again, it was good conversations, and we the doctors are the ones doing the care. The doctors are the ones that are providing the treatment, and their team as well. But at the same time, if we're bringing something to a doctor, to an office that could could maybe hopefully assist in some way of providing better care or allowing them to provide better care because they're more focused on, that part of the business as opposed to other parts that are, taking their attention away. We kind of feel like we're, in a sense, providing some level of care or aiding in that. And that feels good too. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I can imagine.
Mhm.
Charlie, you have a question?
Yeah. What sport did you play back in the day? Well, I mean, I know you played volleyball, but
No, yeah.
is it-
Okay. Wow. So yeah.
I just didn't realize your athletic background in that sense. So that was
Oh,
something that
okay. No.
interested me.
Yeah. I ran track and field. And played football at the University of Saskatchewan. I played
Very
volleyball
nice.
in high school as well, and was on the provincial team in Saskatchewan for a year. Then I had to kind of make a choice between track and volleyball. I chose track, and then actually when I came back to Canada, I actually spent a few months training at the bobsleigh development program in Calgary.
Oh, no
So
way.
it was
Very
it was
cool.
a last ditch effort at this is 2007-8, so it was last ditch thinking like is there a chance to make the 2010 World Cup team or Olympic team and stuff like that, and um um yeah, and then on top of that, I've skied a lot. I took a big hiatus in skiing when I was in university because all the big ski weekends, were right before big track meets, and I didn't want to get hurt. But since getting into dentistry, I was on the Canadian ski patrol system out at Jasper, Marmot Basin in Jasper. So I did that for like 11 years. Um, on the ski patrol, which isn't really sport, but again, it's active and outdoors. It's fun stuff, throwing bombs and avalanche stuff and helping people on ski hills. And then what else? I don't know. That's kind of,
That's
and
something I would
also
have.
everything like baseball, water skiing, just, anything just to kind of, get out there and have
Sports
some
is
fun.
just flowing through the veins.
Yeah. Never stop. Yeah. 100%.
I do
I-
think
I
it's
spent
cool
two-
that
I
a
spent
Sask
2
kid
winters
went
as the-
into. Oh, sorry.
Just to say, I spent 2 winters as a ski patroller at Mount Blackstrap. So,
Mom, yeah, there you go. I know. Yeah, that's right. That's where I got my chops skiing with the Nancy Green race program when I was a young kid at Blackstrap.
Saskatchewan
Yeah, so
Mountain.
yeah, the ski patrol's fun, man. I miss it. My son, who's like 7 now, I've got him convinced that the coolest people on the ski hill are ski patrollers. So he's in like a ski race program, but he's just doing it straight to like he wants to be a ski patroller. He's got my old like radio harness, and so he's got like
Right.
his actual walkie-talkie and a little whistle, and he just wants. So, anyways, that's a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
So, you've worked with companies like Henry Schein, Desktop Health, and also in a couple startups. So, what do you think, or what are the biggest differences between those worlds?
It's interesting. It's there's obviously a lot of differences. There's a lot of similarities. I've but at the same time, and this is not throwing shade at any large organization in particular, but I think I remember reading one time that currently in any large organization right now, if you actually look at the innovations that are being done at larger organizations, the innovations that they're doing is through acquisition. You're finding a small startup that is actually reinventing something, doing something new, and then they're being acquired by a large organization. Where the smaller organization is out there is the one who's truly passionate on and hyper focused on one little thing, and they're trying to build that thing. And then when the opportunity to be acquired comes up, they either take it or they try to keep doing it solo. So big organizations, there's they're safe places to be for a lot of people because all the systems are created. The channels are in place, the workflows, the dynamics, everything's in place. It's good to go. You can come in, you can find your spot, and you can just get to work. And there's a lot of support behind you to be successful. But you're in that groove, right? And so big ships turn slowly. And so if there's a big market changes, if there's things that you see that you want to go after, that you see as something that would be really great for your clients or how it would help your business inside that organization, sometimes, and hasn't really been a thing for me necessarily, but other people that I know, they get their wrist slapped, because that's not what we do. We do this, or don't make sure you aren't doing anything that is seen to be in conflict or competition of what and of course, yeah, I don't blame any organization for that, because they are protecting themselves and they have their systems. But I think smaller organizations, there could be more risk there in regards to like the viability of the business. But again, it's kind of cool when you're solving problems and you come up with something and, hey, we could try this, and it could be a big shift. And they're like, yeah, let's do it, let's go with it. So it depends on the person, I think, who's in that role as the employee.
Yeah.
Where do you feel safest, most comfortable? But yeah, I think the big thing is just large organizations, they evolve and they innovate through acquisition, where it's the small startups that are truly bringing new ideas to a market.
Absolutely. I think that's like a really good point. And it's always something that's kind of perplexed me on that side, because I mean, like whenever I think of this, I think of like the companies like Google and Microsoft, and that have all the money in the world, really truthfully, and how they just don't have like these departments where it's like, just innovate me something, whatever.
Yeah.
They obviously be able to afford it, but yeah, you're right. A lot of times they let the industry go for it, and yeah, these Googles and Microsoft, they just here's $10 million. We want your business and idea tomorrow, and just sign on the dotted line. And a lot of people are like, well, perfect, came up with that idea and I got paid millions for it. I didn't really have to do the whole figuring out for years and trying to make it work. So it is an easy way to make a quick buck, but kind of get them bought out and make your idea actually viable for long term.
Yeah, and I'm a layman in that space, in that world, and it's just my opinion looking at things. And I think obviously like large organizations have shareholder responsibilities. That is their
Yes.
main requirement, is to show a return for shareholders. And and the problem with startups, and the problem with trying to figure out something new is you could be wrong, and then there's a cost to that, and then that cost impacts shareholder returns. Then they're going to say it's not worth the risk to do it. We'll go let these 3 or 4 or 10 little like companies, and they're probably keeping their eye on everyone in those spaces, and they're just going to see who's the one that who fades away, who sticks around, and then they're going to choose who they think is doing the best work, and they're going to bring that, and that's probably the safest way for them to grow and to innovate. But yeah, when you're a passionate entrepreneur and you're trying to solve your world's problem, that risk is worth it, because it's not just the financial benefit you're maybe looking to build off that. It's the problem that you are truly passionate about solving, and you're willing to take that risk. So it's different.
No, very good.
I'm curious. I just kind of want to shift a little bit more into the sales aspect. You're, really what you do. I'm just kind of curious, because, people hear sales. It's like when they hear HR, or, I don't know, whatever. It's like I think a lot of people just immediately have a thought that they associate that's what sales is, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, what do you think most people get wrong about sales in dentistry?
It's funny, and this just the other day, I think I was going through I forget how I came up with it. But there's a picture that I saw years and years ago, and it was 6 pictures, and it was basically like it was like it was sales, and it's like what what does society think I do? What does my mom think I do? What do my friends think I do? And all these things.
Yes.
And then and there's all these different pictures, and what does my mom think I do? Is this guy like presenting in front of a boardroom with all this PowerPoint and looking all and then like what does society think I do? Is this like some greasy car salesman like counting cash and whatever else? And then it's what do I think I do? And it's like a picture of a cowboy herding cats. And then what do I actually do? And it's a guy just sitting at his computer like this, and so I think that applies across. I'll send you the picture. It's a grainy like copy of a copy of a copy version that I have. But yeah, it just but and like I remember so many things that you've heard and said over the time. Like nothing in life gets done without someone being sold something, and it could be a dentist, educating a patient as to why this treatment should be done. and maybe that patient's making the choice based on financials, making the choice based on the aesthetic of the restoration, the need or whatever. But even and then when we're talking with doctors, especially on the business, hey doctor, like look, you should be doing like 75% more hygiene visits a day. Like maybe if we're talking to the doctor, we could talk about, hey, that's X amount of revenue for your practice. But if we're talking with the team, um, and dollars and cents are just easy numbers to discuss. But when you're talking with a team, maybe you want to talk about the quality of care that's not being delivered that we believe is reasonable, responsible, and that should be delivered. So look, we deserve, our patients require better care, and I don't think but better care results in more dollars for the business. Um, and so I don't know, it's finding people, it's connecting with people, it's understanding people's problems, it's understanding what's going on, and trying to provide solutions. But I think there are the greasy, slimy used car salesman who's just trying to sell and make a buck and close a deal. Like that exists in every space. And then there's people that are taking other approaches, and every level of style has successful people and people that are medium and people that are the lower performing. But it's just the attitude that I think that you bring to the help you're trying to provide your clients.
Yeah. So
Totally.
currently you're working with professional practice sales.
Yes. Yeah.
Tell us more about what society thinks you do, what your friends think you do, what your mom thinks you do.
Yeah. No,
But ultimately what you actually do for your clients.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. So professional practice sales, it's a dental practice brokerage. It's founded in Ontario in 1992, expanded to British Columbia in 2010, and then opened up in Alberta back in 2025. So the nice thing with that, coming to a new market in Alberta, is we've got a long history of a reputation in other markets of strong performers, and in ways we've assisted, as opposed to starting off with a complete startup. We were just trying to like, hey, I'm Bob, and like who, and then everything else is within question. When I'm was getting around and introducing me and PPS to banks and accountants and lawyers, um, in Alberta, being able to say to them, hey, go talk to your colleagues in BC and Ontario in regards to and then it turned into a very easy, great conversation, because the reputation was so strong in those markets that they now have the confidence based on that lineage. So we value dental practices. We help doctors sell their practice, and that could be to a private buyer, that could be to a mid-sized group or DSO, depending upon really what is best for our client. We are paid by the person selling the practice. That is who our allegiance and responsibility is towards. And we're trying to find a way to create the best deal for everybody, because the work that we do, and the reporting and the analysis we produce is scrutinized heavily by anyone looking to buy that practice. So if our level of analysis isn't accurate, if it's not consistent, and the other party is doing their due diligence, and those bankers and accountants and lawyers are reviewing our documents, trying to best advise their clients, if they find one or two things that are off, well then the trust in the entire document gets questioned, right? And so, and also for us, like if we're telling, hey, our client, hey, we think your practice is worth X, and all of a sudden it's heavily scrutinized by a buying party, and they come back and they're offering drastically less because they think it's not, then now everyone's mad. Now even if the buyer buys it, they're still thinking like, what else did I miss in this transaction that I'm going to find 6 months to a year down in ownership, where and so yeah, the best analysis we could do, the best valuation we can perform, just creates a nice, smooth transition for everyone involved in the process. And it also shortens the process, because the due diligence can be done quickly and easily and confidently. But yeah, we just try to create a situation where a person is selling their practice, whether it's for retirement, whether it's for other reasons that they're maybe looking to exit the ownership game. And we just want to create the best solution for that transition.
I got a question.
Yes. The
Is this
accountant,
kind of
the accountant has the question.
Yeah. because this kind of ties into like some conversations we've had as well, Bobby. And I think it's worth just kind of putting it on the podcast.
Yeah.
When should somebody have a conversation with you?
Great question. Yeah, absolutely. And well, I'm gonna steal an answer that you gave me off a previous conversation. When should a person have their dental practice evaluated, or when should they start? When should the person start to think about selling their practice? And you said like the day after they buy it. And yeah, ultimately, in some regard, that should be always part of any business owner's plan is like what is the lifetime of me being a business owner look like? What do I want to get out of this next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and where do I want to leave? And for us, when should a person start to engage us, talk to us about selling the dental practice? Honestly, on the very, very furthest outset, really, probably before you sign your last lease that you're going to sign before you sell your dental practice is really kind of so if you're if you're signing a 10-year lease within 5 options to review, like we work with lease negotiating and consultants who work on the lease and again that lease is going to be transferred to the next owner in most cases, and so what is in that lease can greatly affect the sale of your practice. So things like that, like these are conversations that and they don't need to be huge in-depth conversations, but these are things that we should be discussing and revisiting. Like, okay, look, like, okay, yes, you're 45 years old right now as a dentist, but hey, your plan is to retire at 55 and you're about to sign, that lease. Well, yeah, maybe we should have a chat. Like, what does exit look like for you? And then, yeah, let's get the lease reviewed and figure out to make sure that there's nothing in that lease that, is going to, become a yellow flag or red flag for someone assuming the lease, at that point in transition. And then really inside that time with that timeline or that window, again, do you want to sell the dental practice you have today, or what is the dental practice that you actually want to sell? Because what low-lying opportunities do you have to make small improvements that, again, over the course of years, but also over the course of multiples, when you're trying to sell your practice, are going to impact the amount of money you're able to make, keep, retain. And the more time we have, the more ways that we can advise. And there's certain things that we can do. There's certain things that we can't, but we can make introductions to people in the space that we know, that we trust, that we've worked with for years. That could be on the HR side in regards to employment and contracts, and making sure that if someone's not assuming a huge amount of risk by bringing on a disjointed, poorly functioning, contentious team. Maybe there's marketing opportunities that we can invest in now to grow the practice, to build a good presence. So there's a strong brand in the practice, especially if the practice is Dr. Smith's dental practice. Like, I'm not Dr. Smith, and neither is Charlie, and so like maybe that practice should be branded, and have time and runway to build that brand. So it's not Dr. Smith's practice anymore, but now it's has a name, and has a message, and stands for something that. And that branding is now an asset that the new buyer is assuming. And then I'm going to touch on you too, Charlie. Maybe it comes down to the PC. Like, what else is in that doctor's professional corp, and to clean that up, and in regards to make sure that you're able to maximize on capital gains. Like, all these things kind of go into the sale. And again, the less time we have to address these things, the less that we can be done, the less that we can maximize, and it's going to affect the sale of the practice. So, so hey, like 10 years out, let's have a chat. Let's see where things are at. Let's make a plan. 5 years out, hey, let's have a chat. Let's kind of see where things are at. Let's make a plan, and then obviously once you get into like the last couple of years of ownership, 2 years, 3 years, that vitally important. And just working towards that plan. And again, let us help you sell the practice you want to sell, not the practice that you have today. And so that's kind of the conversations that we had a little while ago, but I think it makes sense.
I like that answer. You need to know where you want to go in order to get there.
Yeah,
not saying that it's a direct linear path, but if you don't have some sense of what the practice you want to sell looks like, you don't know from today to then what you might need to change and implement.
If you don't know where you're going, any path will take you there. And
exactly.
and it's and the space is interesting too, because when I first got in the dental space too, when you're at a bar or at a lounge or at a golf course, and doctors are talking about selling their practice back then, they would talk about selling their practice a percentage of gross. Hey, I just, or so and so sold, they sold for like 110% of or they sold it for like 125, or they sold it for 80, of total production. That was before EBITDA was a thing, and so, but again, like, um, and of course, a dental practice is most likely the largest, most valuable asset a doctor is going to own in their career and sell, and that's going to be a huge part that they're going to be looking to set up for their retirement for the rest of their life. Um, that being said, though, like if you're trying to squeak out a couple extra EBITDA points, or if you're trying to squeak out a couple extra points of production in order to get that big lump sum at the end. Well, if you had a better running, more high producing dental practice over the last 5-10 years, that production over the 10 years or whatever we're talking about is going to grossly, exceed the one extra multiple bump, or the extra 10% of gross production that you're selling your practice for. And so, you know, you hear a doctor, oh, I sold for 130% over gross, and you're hearing this like 15 years ago. It's like, man, the reason you're not saying it, but like people in the room or the crowd probably realize that, like, you left a lot on the table. If they're willing to pay you, 45% over 1 year's production for your business, there's a lot of stuff you weren't doing that they see the value in doing and going after. And so, hey, if you had had a talk with Charlie, Kyle, Jessica, other people, myself, 10, 15 years ago, and we're able to kind of go after some things and make some adjustments and it's small tweaks, then you might have only sold it for 110%, but you would have made way more than that 40%. Right. So, yeah, it's a big opportunity. They're fun conversations. Like they don't need to be hard, difficult, whacking you over the wrist, like, bad dentist, conversations. This is the care they're providing to their patients. This is, fun conversations in regards to business development and again, and whether it's innovating in a practice or whatever it is, like, this is what kind of, brings the spark back into owning a business and doing dentistry. And maybe you're in a rut, and this is going to, rejuvenate you and allow you to, enjoy that time too. That's all huge in regards to how we want to spend our lives, regardless it's, personal, professional, whatever. So being able to enjoy it and have fun doing it is immensely important too.
And I just wanted to highlight something here, because I've been through a few transactions myself in life. So one thing I want to reiterate is that lease. Like, that lease can hold up an entire deal if it's not in a good position.
Or kill it entirely.
Or kill it entirely. And so, like, that is one thing that, like, you really should be talking to somebody, like you said, Bobby, just about like that lease terms and stuff like that. I've seen demo clauses wipe out a deal. You didn't leave enough term on the lease, so that buyer can't get a 10-year term loan because there's only 4 more years left on that lease. So that kills an entire deal. So it really is important to at least have like the groundwork knowledge as to what things need to be to have a sale possible, because there's a lot of things that you don't even realize can nullify a sale entirely.
Well, and it's gone, again, back when I was still on the dealer side of things, and we're talking with our clients, trying to help them and advise them and guide them. And we were suggesting, having your lease evaluated and having someone besides, your lawyer or, anybody just review the lease, or I'm going to do it myself. Demolition clause was a big thing then, relocation clause. But even now, talking to some people in the leasing game, it's not even those. It's things like, major renovation clauses are now there. So I'm not going to demo the building, but I'm going to like massively renovate it and strip it down to the studs, which again is going to impact or stop your business entirely. And so again, banks are seeing that. And then the funny thing about this is, okay, so the bank is going to the doctor being like, oh my, we can't finance this for the 10 years because there's this demolition clause in here, or this relocation clause, or whatever else it is. But when the exact same bank is talking to their client who's a landlord, they're saying, hey, you know what? You should really put these demolition clauses in your leases, or have these relocation clauses, because that's going to help. That's going to help secure your investment in the real estate. That's going to so the banks are doing it on both ends, and
Exactly.
and it's just like it's crazy. So so I don't know if you could ask the bank if the bank represents the real estate company that you're trying to sign a lease with in regards to like is there a conflict there, but or if they'd tell you or not, but or if there even is, but
Two different departments.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
exactly. But they're fighting against each other, just making it harder for all of us.
Yeah.
And then I had some other thought that it kind of slipped my mind, but yeah, it's again, these conversations are impactful. I was again sticking on the lease topic too. It's things like, okay, your landlord, you know, if they see you as the business owner, if they see you as the dentist who's running this place, they see security in you. And then if like some new young dentist is going to come in and take over, again, like dental practices are extremely successful businesses in general. But again, if that landlord is concerned, that landlord might want his or her piece of the pie when you sell your practice. And then you have landlords saying, well, hey, I look at the valuation, or they get a hold of it or whatever, and here's your business, but also, you're selling the leasehold improvements of the practice in this deal. Well, those are mine. Like, those belong to me. Like, yeah, you paid for them, you put in the walls and the plumbing, and but that belongs to the landlord. Like, well, I see you value this at $125,000 in your business valuation. Like, well, I'll take that. Yeah, now you have landlords trying to take it. So now you, as the doctor who's looking to sell your business, and congratulations, you just got your 7-8 times multiple, or your 140% of gross, whatever your measuring stick is, and now 125% is supposed to go to the landlord. Like, tell me why. And so all of these things affect what you again make, keep, earn, retain. And again, the more time we have to address these things, and on the leasing thing, maybe it's back when you're negotiating that last lease, and you're not telling the landlord when you're going to sell, but they probably know. If you're 55 years old signing a new 10-year lease, they probably think, it's probably the last one. They know. But again, if you see these things in the lease is being drafted for you, maybe it's worth spending a couple extra bucks a square foot to get that taken out, or even just ask, can you get this taken out? And sometimes they do. And again, talk to your lease negotiator about all those details. But like, again, to beat a dead horse completely to death, like, the more time we have to talk, the more things we can address and take advantage of. And then hopefully it results in the best possible exit and sale of your practice.
Absolutely.
It's so interesting. Sales is such there's a reason I'm not in it. I'm not meant for it. I couldn't do what you do. But when you have these conversations with clients and, practice owners, I'm curious, like, and I know, like you've said, it takes the right person. Like, it takes someone like you going in and trying to, build a relationship with these people and actually build a connection and make it not just transactional, right? But what do you do when people are maybe resistant or hesitant or even just skeptical as to, what you can offer?
Well, I'm 6'4". I stand up. I get really and I say no. No.
That's the intimidation tactic. Very good.
Yeah. Just this.
People love that.
Flip over. Yeah. I come back with my leather jacket on and my black fedora, and I'm bouncing the racquetball like Rocky. No. No. That doesn't work. I don't recommend that. You know what? All we can do, and I'll, Jessica, you're in sales too. You're selling a service you're providing, and I'm sure you know exactly what some of your clients should do, and they just don't listen to you. And you know what? That's on them. I was talking with someone else recently, and people starting up a practice, and it's all busy, all these things going on, and this was a new build, not an acquisition. And then all of a sudden, the owner or the owner's spouse, contacted their marketing company, and this wasn't Kyle, but They were mad because, well, they've got no patience. There's no patient flow in this new practice. It's a startup. And, um, I hope you can really perform for us because, we're already talking to other providers. And, you go back and you're talking with the marketing company and they're like, well, um, 6 months ago, we sent you designs and quotes on getting the website built, and you paused on that. And 4 months ago, we asked for the online booking link to make sure that gets embedded in the website. And we've asked about this marketing opportunity, this strategy, and you've not done any of that. And now today you want new patients, so it's on you. And those are hard conversations because it's your client. And if they get mad and take their ball and go home, then you're out of luck. But I think at the same time, you have to have the ability to say those things. And you if if you can't push back and stand up for yourself when you're right, and have those tough conversations when people need to hear it, it's going to be a hard road ahead in a lot of things. There's a book I read, and I look back at this often, and I forget exactly what financial downturn it was written after, but it was called The Challenger Sales Model. And basically, typical book, and it's similar type of format, but so some big economic downturn happened. Maybe it was like 2007, or maybe it was 2013. I forget. But anyways, they went and they saw that a lot of companies and salespeople and companies struggled immensely in that time period, and they saw that some still managed to do extremely well. And like, what's going on? So they take all these salespeople, break them into groups, do personality tests, and they came up with like four categories of salespeople. And you had some salespeople that were essentially classified as glorified customer service reps. You had some salespeople that were classified as like the relationship builder. Then you had, the lone wolves who just didn't do anything that the company wanted, but still produced numbers and, did their own thing. And then you had what they called, this challenger sales model. And spoiler alert, the challenger sales model was the one that performed the best. The one that performed the worst was actually the sales model and sales approach that everyone had bet on as being the best one. And that was the relationship model. And the companies talked about in this downturn, like, honestly, like having sales reps go and like, honestly, like hugging your clients, like give them a hug, make them feel better, make them feel like it's going to be okay. But again, when I first came into this space and I was talking with the person that became my boss, and he proposes the question to me like, hey, here's a scenario. I've worked with this client for 20 years. I have been to their kids' weddings. I've gone on trips and vacations with them and their family. I have, helped them through a divorce. I've helped them build their business. I've helped them, how are you going to take that business away from me? And back then I knew nothing. And I'm sitting there, I think, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to walk in, I'm going to bring cookies and baked goods to the girls at the front desk. And I'm going to, and he just said, stop. He's like, I've got 20 years on you. You can't outdo me in that. Every inch you make on that relationship side of things, everything you do on that side, you're never going to catch me because I'm doing it at the exact same time and probably at a faster rate. But if you can come in and help the client with their business, if you can help them make more money, if you can help reduce their stress of running and owning a business, if you can do these things, hey, they're going to be like, listen, I'm still going to go golfing with you. I'm still going to go on vacation because we're friends, right? We're truly friends. You're not just doing this with me because I'm your client. We're friends. But Piercy over here is going to help me, build a better business, make more money, reduce my stress, do all these things. So he's getting my business. So that's been this challenger model is a person like, okay, listen, like we all know, and we're all experts in certain parts of this space, whether it's HR, accounting, bookkeeping, or marketing. And we might have clients that are really interested in the bookkeeping side of business, or they really like the marketing side. I'm not sure who's interested in the HR side of things, Jessica. So you might have the
What are you
best
talking about?
opportunity here of all of us. I'm but
You're spot on there. Yeah.
So they might have certain interest in, but we're the experts. This is what we live and breathe in our particular sliver of this space. And so, like, what your clients, need to do, should be doing, and and this also and being able to approach on this comes from having built trust and reputation and people knowing and what you are doing. You're not just trying to sell them the flavor of the month because there's a spiff at the end of the quarter for you. Like you're bringing solid consulting level information to them on this topic. Um, you need to be able to go say, hey, listen, like I know you're doing this. I know things are great, but like if you spent X amount of time or money over here, this is going to help in so many ways. And you challenge them to run a better business. You challenge them on, why are you doing this? Like, tell me why. Like, why does that make sense to you? And then, okay, because this is what makes sense to me, and this is what I've seen. This is what other people I've spoken with have done. And if you're able to challenge people on that, and bring opportunities, bring ideas, bring resources, and challenge them, then I think your level of respect goes up. I think your level of the trust goes up. And then you can get into all the things when you're wrong and when you screw up and when you take accountability for things that But anyways, the challenger sales model is something that has always really connected with me in that regard. And again, it's not a new book by any means, but I think it still holds water. And because anything else that comes in, companies are always going to have, hey, here's a spiff of the month. Go sell this product over this product, and the next month is, oh, the other company has a spiff, so now let's switch on to that product. And like, no, but you want to solve problems and you want to like help out and advise, and that's the way. And that, like, I'm talking a lot. I'm talk fast. I get excited. Like people look at me and think, oh, clearly like sales guy, whatever. But and then you, Jessica, think like you can't do sales. Well, like, no, like you can still incorporate those strategies, and you don't need to be, the loudest person in the room, telling the loudest stories in order to help your clients succeed in their business. And you could be an extremely successful salesperson, advisor, consultant, not having those, typical salespeople skills.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Sorry. Go ahead, Charlie.
No, I think like, I probably could speak for all three of us. Like it's a constant like internal dilemma that I deal with when I'm outreaching to people. I'm like, is this too salesy? Is it not pushy enough? Is it, am I saying the right things? Am I asking the right questions, or am I diving too deep and getting too personal too quick? Like it's almost exhausting mentally, actually, when I think about it.
Yeah, I would agree.
So sometimes I even have fights with like my AI while I'm discussing this. Like, is this a good idea or is this stupid?
No, it is, and it's funny. Like even my wife, like, will because I'll say to people, like, I'm an extroverted introvert, because that's and people like, no way, and they'll call me on that. But I've got friends. I can think of one person in particular, one friend. Like, my God, this guy would go out, friendliest guy, great guy, just super. But he would just go out and party. And we're not talking about getting like wasted and drunk, but he would just be out till 3-4 in the morning, and he's just loving life. He's hanging out, talking, just loving. And I am just like, come like 2:00. I'm done. Get me home. But that energizes him. That being out there just energizes him. I've got no idea what it's like to be him, home alone by himself in a room with nothing but his thoughts. It's probably terrifying. But he's just, that energy. But for me, like, hey, I can pull this out, and I can bring the energy, and I can do this, and I can hold court, and I can tell stories, and I can talk, and it's not a concern. But then at a certain point, like, I'm done. And I just want to go home, and I want to just get a minute and just like lay down or chill out, or just watch some TV, or just, go build something or make something or whatever. I just want just quiet. I just want to sit. I need that to recharge. So that's why and that's always been my understanding of introvert versus extrovert, like, and these extroverted introverts, like, that's what I want after a while, because it is exhausting. And I was on a sales trip one time years and years ago with a client, great guy, genuinely like the client, genuinely do. But when you're on these trips, it's all about the client, because it's for them. You're trying to show them something and explain to something and educate them. And we'd be up for nights talking, like 2 a.m, talking about this stuff. And it's just like, and he's just like, yes, it's a big investment, and he's going back and forth, yada, yada, yada. And actually my boss and I were staying, a little longer for the weekend, and so we were going to go ride motorcycles. That's what we were going to do. It was down in Florida. We had some bikes rented. We're going to ride. And so we're looking forward to this. And he knew we were doing this, and our client's having a great time, because again, it's all about him. And then all of a sudden he's like, "Hey, Bob, like, think I could stay for the weekend?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, well, like, we're renting bikes, but do you have your bike license?" He's like, "No, I don't, but I could rent a car. And I could just like follow you guys down to Key West, and we could would that be okay?" And you're like, he's your client. You're like, "Yeah, man, sure,
That's
yeah,
great.
great, yeah, yeah, you bet." Um, he chose not to do it. We got him to the airport. We got him to security, but at the moment when he walked through the security line, we got through and he could no longer come back to us. My boss and I both just we actually, our shoulders dropped. We both had this like, exhale at the exact same time. And
Yeah.
it's because now we're done. And again, we weren't manipulating him. We weren't being mean or nothing. It was, it's just, but in that moment, it was a sales trip. It was an education trip. It was all about the client, and you're on, and it's exhausting. And so and it was a great trip, and he bought what we were selling, and I think it was a great investment, and everything went well after that, and continued for years and years. But for some people, like, that is just becomes exhausting over time, and you need to relax and recover. And yeah, so that's me. That's what I need to do.
Because you have to be on all the time, I guess, right? With a client, when you're on a sales trip like that, I guess, like you're.
But so does a dentist in an operatory,
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
You
absolutely.
doctor, male or female, walks in the room. Who knows what's happening at home with the kids, with the business, with the whatever, with your,
Yep.
you've got a call with your accountant in the morning. You got a call with the marketing guy in the afternoon, and just you're hoping the HR person doesn't call you. But then you got to go in to treat the patient, and now the patient is timid, is shy, is scared, is in pain, is in discomfort. Is looking at the bill like, "How am I going to afford this treatment that I need?" Like, and now the doctor has to perform, and they have to do their best to put all of those distractions aside and focus on the patient. And it's and same thing for you guys. I'm sure there's times when you're on calls with clients and the world is happening behind you, but right now for this half hour, it's all about them, and
Yeah.
we need to do that. And again, some people, the true extroverts, just love and thrive off of the social interaction. That's what energizes them, refills their battery. And then some of us just need to go, like, turn a bowl on a lathe in a dimly lit garage for a few hours and make some wood chips fly.
Yeah,
Did we just
exactly.
discover Bobby's
I think we did.
passion in woodworking?
I do have a lathe. I haven't. It's funny.
There you go.
It was my dad's. He gave it to me. He bought a new one, but I haven't used it ever. But no, have you ever turned a bowl? Ever done any woodworking? I love it.
It's so methodical. I love it.
Again, just like, and I'll just get. I'm not great at it. I saw years ago. It was like it was a TikTok thing. Like, you can tell what type of carpenter you are based on the tools you have. And if you're like a Milwaukee DeWalt, the soil like these gorgeous, and like then you have like the lime green Arobies from home, and like which is what I had. And I was like, nope, I am a 2x4 guy. It's strong. It's not going to fall over. The chair will hold you up, but it's by no means art you're going to hand down to the generations in the family. So
absolutely.
So I want to take a minute and kind of go off on a bit of another tangent, and talk a bit more about your podcast. So
okay, yeah.
You are the host of the Co-Travel podcast.
Yeah.
What got you to start that?
Well, it was actually it was the pandemic. It was COVID. Obviously, driving around for years, with a lot of windshield time, going visiting dental practices. It was pretty quick. I got tired of listening to the radio and Top 40, and so I transitioned into listening to a lot of audiobooks, because that was kind of the thing. And then I got turned on to podcasts, so I started listening just to podcasts, just again I'm in the car, might as well try to learn something. So I was listening to a lot of business stuff, and the political stuff, and I'm just trying to fill the time between visits. And then the pandemic hit, and then we were trying to find ways to adapt in that time and space. And I remember when offices were first being shut down here in Canada, in Alberta, in Edmonton. There was so much information we were trying to get out to our clients, and again, we were still we're trying to be relevant. We're trying to help out, trying to provide value. And so doctors are having to lay off entire teams. There's SERB and SEEP and whatever else they were called in regards to financial programs are available. You had to shut down a sterilization center. You had to shut down a dental practice, which has lines full of water, and and have never been shut down ever. More than a weekend or so. What's going to happen with biofilm in the lines? Like all these questions, all these things that had to be discussed, and people had questions on. And I remember writing an email to a client, and I'm trying my best to write a good email, but I'm not going through and this is not a prose masterpiece. So I'm like, but it was a massive email on some particular topic, and I just stopped. I'm like, I don't want to read this. Like, I can't imagine anyone wanting to read this. And so one of the things that Henry Schein did for us at the time is we all had Zoom accounts because it's what was needed. And so what I started doing is I started hosting Zoom meetings with accountants, lawyers, bookkeepers, whoever, on these questions and topics. And I'd record the meeting, the video meeting, and I'd share it with my clients in my territory. And I shared it with the other reps and people in my branch, saying, hey, look, if this is helpful and you want to share it with your clients. And it was all, so I'm having a talk with an accountant or something, and hey, if you have any questions, go call this guy, here's his information. And I found that as a better way to share the information. Anyways, then in 2021, I guess it was, when we got back to life and we're trying to get back to normal, I'd realized that in the 7 or 8 episodes that I'd done during that shutdown period, it was essentially doing a podcast. I'm doing a podcast. And so then in 2021, I thought, I'm going to do this. And the goal was, I'd heard this line someplace, and I don't really know who the author of the line is, but if you yourself are basically are known to be talking to experts, then eventually you will become known as the expert. And so I'm not an expert in anything, but at the same time, we talk with designers and consultants and contractors and lawyers and accountants and bankers, and we had these conversations. So I thought, what a great way to kind of to grow my knowledge, my network, my reputation in the space. And so in 2021, I committed to doing a weekly podcast, and I did, I think, 21 episodes. And then actually what happened is I actually got a job offer out of one of those podcasts. And then so I kind of stopped doing the podcast because I wasn't sure what was going to happen with my career, what decisions I was going to make and whatnot. But I really enjoyed it. So we kind of got it going. And then you're like, oh my God, now I got to figure out a name, and I got to figure out an intro jingle. And so I'm on Apple GarageBand, tinkering around trying to make something that sounds decent, like a 20-second intro, whatnot. And then, where do I host it, and what equipment do I need, and how do I schedule it, and yada, yada, yada. And then over the last number of years, haven't done it as frequently. But about every year I've done at least 10 or 12 or so episodes, just again, trying to maintain my network, to grow my network of people, just to kind of keep having those things. And then now with professional practice sales, really using the podcast, getting back into it to, again, just have conversations. And I've always wanted my podcast to be about the guest. So if questions come from the guest about me, about what I'm doing, I'm happy to discuss or share or add, to that. But it's really more about, I'm trying to share your information. And if I can, make introductions to you, or if things come back to me, then it's great. And it's just been a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it.
Nice. Well, we will be sure to put some links to your podcast in the show notes. And just, recognizing that we're coming up on close to an hour and wanting to respect everybody's time, we've got 2 last questions.
Sure. Okay.
Second last question is, what should any dentist listening to this podcast right now go out and get done this week?
Oh my God. What should
Putting you on the spot here.
my ADHD is just going bing, 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 bing. What should they get done this week? I randomly just let's go back to the beginning. Look at your lease. Look at your lease. What is how much time is left? What's in it? Where that is probably the most critical corporate document you probably ever signed or ever will sign. And so just look at your lease. Start there. Figure that out. Is that lease going to last until you sell your practice? If it is, okay, figure out what's that need to do in regards to selling your practice. If that lease is not going to last, until you want to sell your practice, okay, what's in the lease that you want to get changed or amended before you sign that final lease? Look at your lease. But and also, and hey, actually, the second thing is give me a call. I'm going to take this minute just to pitch a little bit. One of the really cool tools that we have at Professional Practice Sales is our preliminary practice assessment, so PPA. Basically, what it does is it looks at the financial health of your business right now. We look at the financials. We don't do the full valuation because that's not needed now because it's a planning tool to understand where you're at. We can include a lease review in that as well at no charge. But again, gives us a chance to have a conversation, learn more about what your plans are, your goals are for eventual sale and exit. And then again, we're going to help identify some of those low-hanging fruit. And if these are things that we can advise on and help you go after, we can obviously discuss how this could possibly change the valuation in 3, 5, 10 years.
Yeah.
If there's things that are outside of our scope, we can always make introductions to people, whether it is accounting, marketing, bookkeeping, HR, else other consulting that can help in those areas of the practice. But again, if we do that today, and then we can easily renew this evaluation, this assessment every year, every 2 years as we move towards that exit, just to kind of again identify. And so again, you're in the end, you're selling the practice you want to sell, not the practice you may have today.
That's
Love it.
great.
Great
Great action item for getting done this week. Last question.
Yeah.
I probably should have asked this question before I asked the last one because you gave such a great answer, and that would have been a perfect end. But what's one piece of advice that you hear frequently that you disagree with, or you think is wrong?
One piece of advice that I disagree with, or that I think is wrong. Wow.
Or do you think differently of it?
Yeah. This is one of those things where we're going to end this and stop recording. And I'm going to be like, oh man, I should have said this.
We'll just have to bring you back for the next episode.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Let's keep that for episode 2. The next interview. One advice that all right. Dentists are bad at business.
Love it.
I love that.
Everyone says it. Everyone says, "Oh, dentists are terrible at business." A dentist, they all this year in school, but they only get so many hours of lecture in their third year on how to run a dental practice. Nobody's good at business. Nobody learns it. You go, Kyle. I've got a marketing degree. You've got a marketing degree, right?
Nope. I don't have a marketing degree.
Oh, you don't?
I had to learn how to do marketing. I had to learn how to do business. So yeah, no, this is awesome.
None of us know how to do business. No, and yeah, like a dentist is, a dentist, knows how to do dentistry. A contractor, knows how to, build a building or frame a house or whatever it is. Like Charlie, we know how to do the things that we're good. But no one knows how to run business. And there's many ways to do it. And what does success look like for you versus me versus another? And how would someone look at my success versus, so none of us know how to do this. And newsflash, the people that are running the biggest companies in the world and the biggest countries in the world don't know how to do business. There's Simon Sinek, I think I saw recently, he was talking to somebody, and he was talking about how he's talking to governments, to militaries, to CEOs, and just and Barack Obama said this on some interview at some point too. Just like how like we're all just people, and we're in the positions that we're in based on whether it's education or whether it's network, or we're all gotten to where we've gotten at this point in life based on however many factors, known or unknown. But the people doing a lot of these things aren't necessarily smarter than you.
Mm.
You take a dentist who's incredibly intelligent and you ask the dentist to go, change the oil in his or her Mercedes, might not know how to do it, probably doesn't know how to do it. Doesn't mean the dentist isn't smart. Doesn't mean that the mechanic's any smarter. But, I think it's, this is all a journey. We're all here learning. It's about who you know, who you can connect with, who you can learn from, what you want to do. But, we always have to be doing something. You're either you're growing or you're dying, and you're moving forwards, or you're moving backwards. There's no stagnant, if you're not growing, and it's about who you are able to surround yourself with. We're the sum of we're the average of the 5 people we hang around with most, all that stuff. Like, so yeah, it's all the journey that we're on, and we're all in different spaces and all at different starting points, and we might have different finishing points where we want to finish. But yeah, doctors are terrible at business. That's the thing I disagree with most.
That's a great way to finish it. I stand corrected. We I thought I should have asked those questions backwards or in different order, but
that was awesome.
All right,
you hit it on the head there. So yeah, thank you very much, Bobby, for A, for having us all on your podcast, but B, for now coming and joining us on ours, and being our first guest to our podcast. We will be sure to link to your podcast and professional practice sales in the show notes. So if any of our listeners want to follow up with you and get more information, or have that initial conversation about what they should be doing today if they're thinking of retiring in 5, 10, 15 years, how you might be able to help them set their practice up to sell the practice they want to sell, not the practice that they have. And
I love that line.
With that, anything else, Jess or Charlie?
Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Like, we all had a blast with you, so
yeah.
we appreciate you coming on and chatting with us. And it's great to highlight what you do. So thanks so much.
No, I'm happy to do it. And guys, I'm really excited for you. I think this is great that you guys are doing this. And I know it's not easy doing this. I know there's a lot of questions in regards to doing this. It's a lot of work to put on a podcast and find guests and do all the back end work to get it out there and promote it. And I'm sure there's questions on what are you guys going to do in regards to, like, what's the return on this, or what are we, how long, and I forget what it was. I think a nice little feather you can put in your cap or something is, I think if you get over 12 episodes, I think you're now like in like the top 5% of podcasts out there. So like there's a lot of people that start this.
Track then, good.
There's a lot of people that start this, and a lot of people that fall off, and it's one of these things. It's just just doing something, keep moving the ball forward. Like I said, I started off with like 21 episodes in my second season, or my first like real season, and then I just wish that I had kept doing it that often and not stop, because where would my numbers be now, and what would my reach be now, and whatever else. But the whole thing about, like, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is today. And so I think, again, I think this is a great medium. I think there's a lot of terrible podcasts out there on a lot of different topics too. But again, I think, and I was even talking with the doctor on the weekend, and his comment was that there's not a lot of Canadian focused dental podcasts. And so that's obviously like the market that I work in, that you guys are working in. So I, again, applaud you guys for doing this. I know it's not easy. So I that's huge for taking the leap. I hope you guys keep it up, and not that you haven't, but you're going to find the groove, and you're going to find things are going to feel easier, and you're going to get more comfortable, and it's just going to be, and you're going to feel things coming together for you guys. And maybe you already are feeling that. It's just so just keep it up. I think it's great, and I look forward. Excuse me. I like listening to what you guys are doing, and just good for you. So thanks so much. It's been a blast. Looking forward to doing this again, and really appreciate it.
Sounds great.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thanks again, Bobby.
So much.
All right. Hey, cheers, guys.
Take care.
You've been listening to the Dental C-Suite. For show notes or to ask a question to the board, visit www.thedentalcsuite.com.